You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona, and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey.
Hi, Rachel.
I get to start us off this week, and I'm not going to lie, just like how Kirk's episode last week, can't believe we haven't covered this yet. I can't believe we haven't covered this yet.
I'm going to have to cross it off my list.
Maybe.
Probably me too. What is it?
So, I don't know about you all, but do you count your steps?
Not really.
No. In our job, I feel like we get so many steps anyways that it's kind of pointless.
Mm-hmm. So I have a pedometer on my phone, and I keep track of how many steps I do, just a little bit, so I have a general idea.
Okay.
But I will say I'm very lucky in the fact that I don't have to count my steps to find my way around at all, because there are people who have to do that.
Wow. Okay.
But I'm going to talk about the pedometer effect today a little bit.
The pedometer effects.
It's not on my list.
No.
The experiment
Nor mine.
that came up with it probably is. So this was really
okay.
big a few years ago, where some scientists started wondering how some ants got home. So
Okay.
in the desert, there are desert dwelling ants, okay? And these desert dwelling ants, it's hard for them to be able to use chemical trails like a lot of other ants to navigate between their nest and a food source, because the heat will disintegrate the chemical trails. So it's a lot harder for them to be able to figure out, to be able to smell their way from one spot to another, like a lot of other ants do.
Okay.
So some scientists decided, well, how do they get home? And they observed some ants and they trained them, and they decided, well, let's see if they count their steps.
Huh.
So,
Okay. Wow, that seems like tedious research, but you gotcha.
So they trained these desert ants to go to and from a home spot to a spot where there was food.
Right.
Got them used to that spot from one spot, or going from home to food. But they needed to see if they really count their steps. So what would you do if you had to test whether or not ants count their steps? What would you do?
Okay, my first thought, why I said it'd be tedious, is to actually sit there and count their steps, which sounds horrifying. Or you could build a teeny tiny little pedometer, which also seems very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought was just like move the food source.
Or
they're
move
trying
the
to see
ant after it reaches the food source.
Oh, sure, yeah, move the ant.
Yeah, because they're trying to see if the ants are the ones counting their steps.
Right.
Well, this is what the scientists did. They split them into 3 groups.
Treadmill.
Interesting.
No.
That probably would have been easier than what they did.
Okay.
They split them into 3 groups. One group glued pig bristles to their legs to give them little stilts to artificially
Stilts?
lengthen their legs.
Wow.
What?
I can't believe neither of you have heard of this. There's this everywhere.
They put ants on stilts? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. This was an NPR, man.
Okay, keep going.
This is even
And
better
then
than
another group.
tacking on
This
extra
even, like-
feathers to the tails of the widow birds.
I'm glad he brought that up, because one group, they cut the legs off at their knees to shorten their legs.
No animals were harmed in the
That's
making of this research. Not.
horrible.
and the other group was left alone. So they were able to see whether or not they left the food at the same spot, and they released the ants from home. And the ants that had stilts walked past the food
Way
and
too
looked
far,
around,
Yeah.
way too far, and looked around, trying to find the food. The ants that had too short of legs, little tiny stumpy legs, didn't get far enough, but seemed to be looking around for it.
They didn't have legs to barely move, but okay. Yeah.
Right. And then the ants that had normal legs were able to get to where the food is. So they were able to adjust, and they were able to make it back to the feeding site without any sort of trouble. This is what they call they probably use a step integrator. We don't actually think that the ants are literally counting their steps. Like actually counting their steps. There's just no way that they can actually count their steps.
Too high of a number.
It's too high of a number, and their brains don't really work that way.
Right.
The thing is, so a step integrator gives like a general idea of how the sense of distance based on how many steps they've taken, but they can't actually count their steps. Okay. And this is still something that needs to be a hypothesis that still needs to be double checked and everything. This isn't a firm like this is what they do. But this
we
is
got
what
we got to put way more
it.
ants on stilts.
So basically, they're going to
Exactly.
be cutting a lot of more ants off at the knee.
I mean, they might, yeah, they might. But
I went more for the funny part of the ants on stilts. But yeah.
But I mean, yeah, ants on stilts. It is something that they end up doing. It's just fascinating, and it was just to give a little credit. It was Harald Wolf of the University of Ulm, and his assistant Matthias Wittlinger, who designed and went about this experiment.
Well, hats off.
Yeah, good for them. I will say people are very fascinated on where this could go. And I have to really give credit to inspiringscience.net. They did a really good job on breaking it down past like, oh my gosh, they count their steps, kind of big headlines that media likes to do. But that's what I have for you today. Ants kind of sort of count steps.
So what's the connection to the pedometer effect?
So that is what they call it, is the pedometer effect, is the step
Integrator?
integrator. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the idea of that they have some sort of internal system to keep track of how the distance between locations. So it's the pedometer effect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Kind of like a pedometer. So,
Thanks.
yeah. No
That is-
problem.
I know when I put on stilts, I tend to walk
Large
you
steps.
laugh. Well, I don't go as far because it's very awkward,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
terrified I'm gonna fall and like smash my face or something. So
That's because you have a
I-
long way to fall, Kirk.
well, but also I think having 6 legs, it's sort of like actually when I have used stilts, I'll often have like long poles you're walking with, like a cane or something, because that is somewhere you're much more stable. So I think
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
a multi-legged animal would be much better at walking on stilts than I would, because they're not as terrified about falling and breaking their face.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were pig bristles, so I mean, it's very similar to like their legs, I suppose. I just there was some intern, graduate, undergraduate
And
student.
grad student probably is here. Glue these to
Here,
these
glue
legs.
these pig bristles to these ants' legs. And here's the thing: you were saying this earlier, just a bit, Kirk, but they did count the steps of all the ants to make sure they were all going the same amount of steps.
Those poor
to
grad
get those
students.
to get
Just
the
miserable.
to see if they were going the same amount of steps or if they were just doing something else. That is
I
a
hope they
variable they had to
videotaped it
count.
and then watched the video, because if you got like halfway to the food and you're like
Little clicker.
128, 100,
Uh-huh.
wait, was I at 170 or one? Oh no, it's still moving, and you're like, man. Pick them up, go back to the beginning.
Yeah, so because they had to see if they were walking the same number of steps, not just that because the gates were changed, they were able to figure it out. They had to see if they were walking the same amount. It's nuts.
Well, hats off to you, I guess. That's really something.
Science is fun. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be Victoria.
Strange by Nature podcast is brought to you by listeners like you who have joined the Society of Strange, our membership group on over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Society of Strange members can join at one of 3 different membership levels and help support the show, and also get some fun stuff like water bottle stickers or access to super secret content. So a thank you to those who have joined already to help make this podcast possible. If you haven't joined yet, we'll see you soon over at the Society of Strange at patreon.com/strangebynature. See you soon.
Hey, we're back. If you had to pick a candidate for the most underappreciated player for supporting life on Earth, it might be Earth's magnetic field. I feel like Earth's magnetic field is a good candidate here.
That's fair.
Doesn't get celebrated enough.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Earth is basically a giant magnet, and that's caused by the convection of molten iron and nickel within the Earth's core.
Mm-hmm.
And the magnetic field that creates is absolutely key for shielding us from the powerful solar winds that stream through the solar system, and also from
the radiation.
That is true, yeah.
Cosmic rays.
I appreciate it.
So what the solar wind is basically a plasma that's thrown off by the upper atmosphere of the sun, and it consists mainly of charged particles, so protons, electrons, and alpha particles, with also some atoms and nuclei of heavier elements thrown in. These are very high energy, so they're traveling at speeds of 250 to 750 kilometers per second, or around 1.4 million kilometers per hour, which is very fast.
Man. Real
Just
fast,
a little fast, yeah.
So they would be extremely damaging to life on Earth if they reached the surface here without interference. It's believed that the solar wind can rip away a planet's atmosphere over time. So actually, astronomers believe that's one of the reasons why Mars has such a thin atmosphere. It used to have a thicker one, and I think got ripped away by the solar wind, because Mars doesn't have a magnetic field. Some of the high energy particles, like alpha particles, can be extremely damaging to life forms, including obviously humans. And these charged particles can also seriously disrupt electronic and telecommunications equipment and the power grid. But luckily, as I said, Earth's magnetic field is able to deflect most of the solar wind and protect us from its effects. So
that's good.
Yeah, so we'd be in trouble, right, if our magnetic field disappeared.
Yeah.
Seems unlikely to happen, you'll be glad to hear, since geologists believe it's been present on Earth for at least 3.5 billion years.
Right.
However, and we're finally getting to the topic that I'm going to talk about today, the magnetic field is known to reverse polarity with some frequency.
Yes!
Awesome.
We are talking about magnetic pole reversals.
Oh my gosh, I'm very excited. Let's go.
Yeah. So what does that mean? What's going to happen to all of us when that happens? Well, the poles literally reverse. Your compass needle that currently points toward the North Magnetic Pole in the Arctic would instead point toward Antarctica. So the north would be in Antarctica, and the south would be in
the Arctic.
Now, our planet is not like flipping in space. It's just the way the magnetic field is facing.
Good clarification. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, very solid.
Just,
one would be more terrifying than the other.
Gotta flip the flat Earth pancake over to the other side.
Flip the pancake. Okay.
Anyway, these reversals are recorded in the geologic record by magnetic particles within various rocks. Mm-hmm. So we know that there have been, in fact, many, many reversals over the Earth's history. Right, and they come about every 300,000 years on average. So the last one occurred 780,000 years ago. That makes it sound like we're quote unquote overdue for a reversal.
Right.
But that's not really true. Because the pattern...
nature does whatever it does.
No, the pattern of reversals is in fact quite random. And there have been periods when there was no switch for tens of millions of years. And there have also been periods when switches happened sooner, much quicker than every 300,000 years. So it's really not telling us a whole lot.
Of course.
I remember hearing them saying during the reversal that it could be flipping like daily, they thought. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like it could, like, once
Don't like that.
Before it settles down, it could be just like wandering around and flipping back and forth.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about daily flips, but we'll get into some of the dynamics of it. Cool. Yeah. It's unclear exactly what causes the reversals. I think the main hypothesis is that it is just due to the fluid dynamics of the Earth's spinning core.
Right.
But there are also hypotheses suggesting that external events like a major impact or big plate tectonic subductions could spur switches sometimes. But at any rate, there are these switches, but it is not just like switching on and off a light. It's not like you wake up one day, whoops, your compass is pointing the wrong direction.
Right.
It does take place quickly, but on a geologic timescale, which is to say over thousands of years.
Okay.
So while it's happening, it can wander around a bit. And well, we'll get into that more in a minute. But what is going to happen to us, life on Earth? What's going to happen? As I said, the magnetic field is thought to sometimes weaken as a part of the reversal, but not to ever disappear. Mm-hmm. And the poles will gradually wander their way to the opposite end of the Earth with some wavering around. It's just a period of unsettled magnetism until it settles into the opposite polarity. The magnetic field currently has shown some weakening over the time that we've been looking, and the poles are always wandering a bit anyway. So it is in fact possible that we're in the middle of a reversal, but it's pretty much impossible to tell for sure because we just don't have the data.
Thousands of years.
It takes so long relative to the amount of time we've been looking. If that does happen, most animals and plants will probably be just fine. The exception is for migrating species, because to the extent that they depend on the magnetic field for navigation, they could get really, really confused. So things
that's one thing they rely on, but not the only thing. So it's got to be like I'm getting mixed signals here. You know,
like weird. This is different than it has been last generations. Wonder what's going on.
Yeah. So the main thing that we could worry about, if you really feel like you need to worry about something, is that the weakening of the field during a reversal could cause some additional problems with electronic equipment like power grids and other things. Since the field doesn't disappear entirely, it'll probably be okay. It's stuff that we could plan for if we knew it was starting to happen. So there's that. You can go back to worrying about all the other stuff that you normally worry about.
Well, I mean, that's good. I definitely I like that. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Do we know why it reverses, or it just does?
Well, as I said, they mainly think it's due to the fluid dynamics of the core, just kind of cycling or doing its thing, but possibly impact events and things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to say.
We have some ideas, but we don't totally know.
Yeah, we don't.
Here's what it comes down to. Yeah.
one last thing I wanted to say was that some folks over the years have tried to link magnetic pole reversals to mass extinction events. But with careful mathematical examination of the data, these two phenomena, there really is no link that they can find. Yeah. So, like, I think there's one or two occasions where it kind of lines up, but there's no real causality that is there.
Yeah.
Well, did you come upon the one big upside to a magnetic reversal?
Maybe not. You're going to tell me.
Yeah. Just for instance, in the last 24 hours here, we had a big CME or a no, I can't think of the word.
Electromagnetic.
No, they said it. A coronal mass ejection from the sun, a CME, hit the Earth just within 24 hours of us recording this and sparked northern lights at high latitudes. They think that during the reversal, because the fields are going like just
I did see that
everywhere.
Yeah. That we'd probably have like really, really killer northern lights, but they wouldn't be northern lights. They could appear anywhere,
just like worldwide aurora.
Yeah. So
that's
I mean,
pretty cool.
We got that going for us.
That's
cool. Awesome. I would like to maybe see that.
Well, we'll take a break and we'll try to find a way to send Rachel to Iceland.
Yeah, and when we come back from the break, we'll have
Absolutely.
Kirk.
Perfect.
I'm off to Iceland. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we're back. And Rachel, how was your trip to Iceland?
It's surprisingly warm, but really cool. It was really fun.
That may not have been Iceland. Okay, so last week I talked about tardigrades, right? And all their amazing adaptations and such. But one that really stands out for me as the most amazing is the cryptobiosis, like the ability to suspend life during those time periods that are not so hospitable to life, right?
Sure.
And I hinted that there were other animals that undergo cryptobiosis. And this week, I'm going to talk about the most famous cryptobiotic animal to have ever existed on the face of the planet.
Those are some superlatives right there.
Yeah, that's a real big title for this.
Yeah, I know what you're already thinking. OMG, he's going to talk about yeast, the amazing cryptobiotic organism that gives us both bread and beer.
Not an animal.
No. Yeah. Well, this is even more famous than yeast, which is also not an animal.
Oh, I was worried I'd have to take this off my list.
We have come to the point in the show where I finally talk about sea monkeys.
Yay!
So let's
I
get
had
one
sea
thing.
monkeys growing
the
up.
moment we've all been waiting for.
I know everyone's just been like, sea monkeys. All the emails will finally stop coming in. Let's get one thing straight off the bat. They're not monkeys, and they do not come from the sea.
Nope.
So I guess that's two things straight off the bat. So we're not doing great so far, but we're just going to forge ahead. There's a chance some of you dear listeners have never picked up a comic book in your life and glanced at the amazing advertising in the back for such things as X-ray glasses and plans for how to build your hovercraft out of a vacuum cleaner. So I suppose there's some possibility that somehow you went through your life never seeing an ad for sea monkeys. But let me assure you, for decades and decades, millions of children saw millions of ads for sea monkeys and were very intrigued. Harold von Braunhut, who was the inventor and marketer behind sea monkeys, claimed to have bought 3.2 million pages of comic book advertising per year.
Wow.
What?
Wow. Yeah, at the height of the sea monkey craze. So he did quite well for himself, and they were definitely a huge hit. Now, Braunhut, incidentally, was also the man behind X-ray specs and something called the invisible goldfish, which is
yeah. Oh boy.
As far as I can tell,
fishy.
it is just a oh jeez. As far as I can tell, the invisible goldfish was just a straight up scam that involved selling kids empty goldfish bowls with a guarantee that no one, including them, will ever be able to see the fish.
Yeah, it's a total scam.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're starting to think he sounds like a real piece of work, you'd be right, as apparently he also supported white supremacists and used a bunch of his money he made to buy weapons for the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, do
So,
not like
Wow,
him.
okay.
yeah, enough about that loser. Let's talk about sea
Mm-hmm.
monkeys.
Sea
So,
monkeys.
what are they if they're not monkeys from the sea? Well, what people got when buying sea monkeys was actually a small plastic aquarium, a packet of water purifier, a packet of sea monkey eggs, and a packet of sea monkey food. So I never did get any as a child, but I
I
did actually get
did.
some. I got some as a white elephant gift once, and I had a sea monkey colony on my desk at work as a young naturalist.
That's
Hmm.
fun.
So yeah, mine incidentally, if you're curious, was the Sea Monkeys on Mars kit, which I
Okay.
checked and it is still available. So what sea monkeys really are is just brine shrimp. So
Okay.
specifically, and I hope I say this right, they're from the genus Artemia.
That looks
We're
right.
just gonna go with
Mhm.
that pronunciation. Now, the inventor claimed that he created or had some scientists create for him a custom hybrid of Artemia species, specifically to have to be like extra hardy and extra large sea monkeys. But I'm pretty sure that's just a BS marketing claim, and they're
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
regular old brine shrimp. I don't really believe that his claims. I don't think it's ever been proven that they're anything but regular old brine shrimp. Brine shrimp are pretty amazing, though, in their own right. They are a small shrimp that likes to live in salty lakes. They're not found in the ocean. They're found in very salty lakes that are
Mhm.
prone to drying up, which is pretty key because they would be really
Okay.
tasty food for any fish that would be found in those lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and so by living in like really salty lakes that are prone to drying up, that means there's no
Fish.
uh, there's no fish there because fish would die in there.
Yeah.
So I said they dry up though. So that would be problematic for animals living there, including the brine shrimp. Now, the brine shrimp themselves do not actually dry up. Well, they do completely dry up and then they die. That kills them.
Yeah.
But what is cryptobiotic are their eggs. They lay eggs
Okay.
as the
Okay.
pond is drying up, and their eggs can become completely desiccated and void of water and then stay that way for quite a long time. So it's very cool. Now, they naturally can mate and produce offspring, which is how you would get those fertilized eggs,
Mhm.
but they're also capable of parthenogenesis. So,
Hey.
Woohoo!
insert some kind of Jurassic Park reference here. Uh,
Hmm.
Basically, unfertilized eggs that are laid can hatch out into new female brine shrimp. So, you can't get any males that way, but through
Mhm.
parthenogenesis, you can get more female brine shrimp. So, also like tardigrades last week, brine shrimp have been into,
Space.
yes, they've been into space. Exactly. They've
Yes.
actually been on 7 different space flights,
Oh, they've been to
and
space a lot.
they've been to the moon twice.
Oh, wow.
Now, I
Are you
couldn't
saying they're
actually,
cooler than tardigrades?
yeah, pretty much. Yes. Now,
Hmm.
um,
Oh.
oh, there's some disagreement. That's okay. I don't know if they actually went to the moon's surface. I think they maybe only orbited the moon. I couldn't really
Okay.
find good data on that. But the experiments, and this ties in totally with Victoria's topic, the experiments were to test the effects of cosmic ray radiation on life because you were outside of,
Mhm.
once you go to the moon, you're outside of the magnetic field of the Earth, at least for the most
Mm.
part. Um, and spoiler alert, radiation is bad for life. Uh,
Huh.
nine
Never would have
90.
thought.
Yeah, you'd think that maybe like the tardigrade, like maybe like the cryptobiotic, or what's called like a cyst, that like egg,
Mhm.
would maybe provide some kind of protection, but 90% of the eggs flown to the moon and back died at various stages of development when they were
Okay.
hatched back on Earth. So, wah, wah, not
Not
so
so
Yeah.
good.
much.
So, getting back to sea monkeys
Mhm.
specifically, the packet that you get of water purifier is not technically totally all water purifier. You put
Mhm.
water in, and the packet reportedly has salt, some kind of water conditioner, and brine shrimp eggs. So, there's actually eggs in that very first pack that you put in, which I think is their sort of sneaky way of giving some of the eggs a little bit of a head start.
Mhm.
Once that sat overnight, the next day you add in the egg packet, which is eggs, yeast, borax, and more salt. And then you have a growth packet, and that, which is also like basically the food that you're going to feed them, and that is a
Mm-hmm.
combination of yeast and spirulina, which
Wait,
the shrimp are going to eat.
Hmm.
So
why
really,
why
what
borax?
on the borax is probably has something to do with just adjusting the water to make
Okay.
it. I don't, might have something
It's
with the
probably
pH or
something that's
something like that.
naturally found in the briny pools that
Could
they
be.
live in.
I do know that when they
Okay.
first came up with this, they worked with some scientists to figure out how do we create water that they're really going to thrive in, and that must
Mm-hmm.
be one of the ingredients they came up with. But the
Okay.
yeast and the spirulina are there for the shrimp to eat. And so it's kind of cool. If you're putting yeast in, you now have two different cryptobiotic things in your mini
Mm-hmm.
aquarium, which is kind of cool. But no one cares about the yeast. That's just food. So there are claims out there that people have kept sea monkeys alive for years, uh, which I kind of wonder about. But in
Mm-hmm.
most cases, they live about, if you're really careful, about 2 to 3 months is how
Okay.
long they're going to live.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking you would like to have some, they are still available either in the originally named Sea Monkeys brand, or there are some other ones, including one that was kind of cool called Aqua Dragons,
I
which is
like that one better.
that's a pretty catchy name.
Okay, important
You,
question though.
yeah,
If you order the Sea Monkeys brand, are you
yeah.
still supporting Mr. White Supremacist von
Oh,
what's his name?
we're getting there. We're getting there.
Ah, oh good.
I'd say you can get either one. They are the same. They're like the exact same thing. I kind of prefer the original design of the aquarium for the sea monkeys because it has little built-in like bubbles on the side, like little magnifiers.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, the Aqua Dragons tank comes with like built-in LEDs to like light it up.
Ooh.
So that's
That is
pretty
pretty
cool.
sweet.
Now, Victoria totally anticipated what I was going to say because you might be thinking like, hey, maybe I kind of like the sea monkey design, but I don't want to support like a piece of human garbage. And it's
Yes.
okay because he's dead. And
Okay.
a new company actually like stole the name and has no
Nice.
association with the original. They actually got sued over it, and his wife lost the lawsuit somehow. So the company that
Nice.
puts them out now is not associated with a horrible human being at all. So there's a fun toy.
I
So, or
like
not,
that.
toy. The animals are not a toy; they are living things. But there's
Right.
an educational toy to learn about life and stuff. So really cool thing to get for yourself or for your kids or something if you want to learn about brine shrimp. But again, not monkeys and not from the sea.
Just salty lakes.
They're also not dragons, but we're gonna skip over that.
Right. They're shrimp.
Crustaceans, actually.
So there you go. Yep. I was happy to bring this topic to you. We can now all rest easy that we've talked about sea monkeys. Stop with the emails, okay? We get it. We've talked about sea monkeys now. Thank you so much for humoring us, and that's what I got for you this week.
Thanks, Kirk.
Thank you.
You're
Brings
welcome.
back memories.
Indeed.
I never had sea monkeys that I recall.
Well, we know what to get you now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Yeah, I'm not finished." That's okay. That's okay.
Your kids will love it.
Yep. All right. Well, everyone have a pleasant evening or morning or whatever time it was you happen to listen to this. And thanks for being there.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.